First thing is stand for pledge of allegiance or moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, tonight's meeting consists of funding analysis from Shannon. And I guess that all these papers are from you.
Yeah, I got a revised one.
Oh, more.
I sent it to you this afternoon,
Oh, yep.
so I think you got it. I said. So. I had the one pager in there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I needed to make a correction, so. Here's some extras.
Thank you.
So. We have 3 projects that consist of a well for $735,000, water main reconstruction for $827,040, and treatment plant, which is the big one, it's for $835,000. And what I had indicated in the letter is that ultimately the Public Facilities Authority's view of the world is that they look at your median household income and they indicate that residents on water projects are able to afford 1% to your median household income on water projects. And you have to reach that level before you're grant eligible. So they're saying that we're only going to give you a loan until your water rate gets to $81.67 per month. And after that, if your project costs are enough and you're taking loan to such an extent that you're going to exceed $81.67 per month, and that's including your operating costs and all those things, that then you're grant eligible. And they say that that grant eligibility is up to $10 million or $20,000 per connection. That first draft of the letter, I just relied on the 10 million, but ultimately you're capped based on your number of connections at $4,420,000. You know, when you put a project together and they evaluate it, that's how much grant you're capped at by state statute, and they won't go beyond it for any good reason. The only way you could exceed it is if you were successful in getting a state appropriation. And so I looked at 2 different ways, you know, of I looked at 2 scenarios for your 3 projects that total it's about 8 million per. It's $8,397,000 for all 3 projects. So the first scenario I looked at, well, what if we got just to the affordability level, and since they weren't going to give us any more grant, and we, you know, maxed out our loan to get to the 8167, where does that get us? And that would get you the water treatment and well project, but not the water main project. So they tie out almost exactly based on the cost estimates to based on the terms that you'll get on the PFA loan, which will be, it'll be a state loan of 30-year term between 2 and 2.5% interest. I've used 2.5% interest in this estimate. And so the annual loan payment that puts you at that affordability level is $150,350, which you know, is a loan of $3,146,000. So what I'm telling you is the state will say this city can afford a loan of $3,146,000 over 30 years at 2.5% interest, because that gets you to 1.2% of your median household income, which is their affordability threshold before you're grant eligible. And so after that, to maximize the grant, you know, you got another $4,420,000 in project costs that you would want to incur, because at that point you're grant eligible, and you can cover that amount with free dough from the state. And so that means the optimal sized project for maximizing our grant loan combination, minimizing the loan, maximizing the grant, is about $7,570,000. So that means well and treatment almost are exactly that amount. They're within $4,000. if we throw in the water main instead of the well, you're gonna have a little bit more loan, because what the state will tell you is, we'll fund you to your affordability level. You can choose to exceed it by taking more loan if you want to. But, once you reach the cap on your grant, you've reached the cap on your grant, and they're not gonna, that 4,420,000, they're not gonna go a penny beyond that.
Any other improvements would be on us.
Yeah, but they would do it in the form of a long-term low-interest loan, but you would have to decide that you want to increase your rates beyond that $81.67 level in order to do it. And so the second page of this two-pager, to do all three, I'm telling you that the supplemental loan that you'd have to take would take your loan payment from $150,000 to $190,000. And that per user per month, for average user, it'd be $96.62 rather than $81.67. And that estimate is based on your annual operating costs. You have a reserve requirement that the state will impose. We call it a WIF reserve on this worksheet. They say that you have to set aside cash equal to 50 cents per 1,000 gallons pumped each year in your system, as a cash reserve to maintain the stuff that they're funding. So particularly the water treatment plant, you're supposed to accumulate that $8,500 each year. And over time, you use it to replace pumps at the water treatment plant and, critical assets that wear out. It's a short-lived asset reserve is what USDA calls it, but ultimately it's a reserve that you're required to accumulate in order to pay for maintenance on this stuff.
Well, that money is accumulated every month now.
Yes, it already is, but
They want like a little extra cushion or something?
well, ultimately it would be, we've used operating costs that should reflect what you're actually gonna pay for operating costs. We've looked at audit data, and what the new treatment plant work means with regard to what maintenance will cost. And so, based on your history, you may accumulate more than that, $500, but the state requires you to accumulate that $8,500 a year.
And that's throughout the loan period, 30 years?
Yeah. I haven't seen many letters go out on you haven't accumulated it, but it's a requirement of the loan agreement that you sign. And so, you should be mindful of it and understand that that's part of this rate I'm communicating to you, but it's cash that stays in the city. It's not going for a loan payment or operating costs. It's
Right.
accumulating for maintenance.
Okay.
So for me, the decision is, what approach do you take with the Public Facilities Authority on this? And I thought of a few different ways. Ultimately, if your bids came in better than expected on these three things, you may choose to do one as an alternate, which, if your bids came in low, maybe you're doing all three because it's close enough to the funding package and maximizing the grant that you want to proceed. Otherwise, this WIF consideration isn't a one-time lifetime deal. It's each time you have a project that of significant size that you bring to the state. And so if you have supplemental phases that you're going to be doing stuff in, maybe it becomes part of the second phase where you're eligible for that grant again, because you've already brought your rates up to that affordability level. Those will continue to go up as the median household income rises, if that's the case. And so, but you're much closer to it than you are today, with regard to what you'd be charging, and, your eligibility would be much closer. It wouldn't be this significant increase that's required to get to the point where it's affordable.
That $96, that's just the cost of the water.
Yes.
What is the minimum now? What does it cost them?
Like $12 or $13 a month just for the connection fee.
Well, but the water,
The water,
how many gallons do they get for the minimum?
I saw
A
that.
second,
Yeah, I
I
saw
was
that.
just wondering how much that would basically, and then we have contingency fees on the water and the sewer, but none of that would ever account for any of this, right?
Well, that stuff, this rate I'm giving you is meant to include everything in your water system and completely cover operating, maintenance, asset reserve and loan payment that you'll have. So you shouldn't have other expenses if we're doing this right at the end of the day, outside of what I'm telling you your rate needs to be at to support it. If there is additional costs, we should be aware of those now so that we can throw those into the rate because it would reduce our loan amount.
I was wondering how much we have to go up by
Wait a minute.
next summer, right? To be in compliance?
Well, they would make you adopt when you bid the project. You're gonna close on your loan with the state and they will make you adopt a resolution establishing rates that are sufficient to pay the debt service on the loan. So next summer is when you'd have to adopt a rate resolution when you bid the project, establishing the new rates. They will allow you to phase it in over a couple of years if you choose to do so. I was just working on a project yesterday where we were looking at phasing in that rate over 3 years, for example. And on a
Okay.
30-year loan, which is what you're gonna get when you get to grant eligibility, they'll be flexible on that. So you don't have to do it all at once.
That's what I was wondering. Do we need to start the next quarter to go up a little bit and each quarter keep going up a little bit? Or you say they got 3 years, so that helps?
3 years of phasing it in, but you'll have to adopt a resolution that establishes those rates next summer.
At the end of 3 years, we're up to that rate.
Yep, and that resolution will have to state that. It'll
Yeah.
have to state in year 1, we're doing this, year 2, we're doing this, year 3, we're gonna be here.
To go up to the $81,
Yes,
that's gonna at least double our water bills, what people are paying right now.
oh, it's gonna triple some of them like yours. So right now, our monthly is $12.83 for just for the contingency charge. And it's $4.08 up to 1,246 gallons,
How much? 408?
$4.08. So we have a lot of users that are that.
so you're probably,
So you're talking upping 60, $70.
yeah. Yeah, based on what I just heard, it sounded like $20 would be a medium-sized customer.
Right, yep. I
Yeah.
think mine is roughly around $20 a month just for the water.
Yeah,
What does, this has nothing to do with wastewater though.
no, this is just water. And they view wastewater, your affordability threshold is even higher, and they would tell you that your rate need to be higher because it's based on 1.4% of household income versus 1.2%. So
What does that make that going up per gallon on something like that? If you had to have that at 80 what,
81.60.
81.67 and you divide that gallons. What does that make that per gallon?
An average customer is probably in that 4,000 gallon per month range. Or 4,000.
No, I think we're
I don't know what our
two to,
average.
I want to say somewhere between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Our average, because we have a lot of elderly or single
Yeah.
homes that just, and the bare minimum is like 66, 36 for everything.
You see a lot of 3,500 gallons.
Yeah, yep, that's roughly right around there.
Oh, boy,
yeah,
that's gonna be a hard pill to swallow for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Holy cow.
Because if you're gonna put the water up just to that, the rest of it's gonna be $140 to $150 a month.
So do you know how contingency fees work? You know, that was kind of a little fee to help create money for the operation of water and sewer. So would we still want to keep that contingency fee on there that we're raising the water so much, or could we drop the contingency fee on the water to help compensate for the big increase in the cost per gallon?
So how do you charge the contingency fee and what is it used for?
It's
Goes into the water fund just
Just
to,
accumulates cash.
yeah,
right,
Yeah,
that's kind of like for the maintenance, you know, pumps
Yep.
and stuff.
so if it's just accumulating cash and it's and it's not going for standard operations and maintenance on an annual basis. So if it's not paying your employees, it's just paying for big projects or repairs as they come along, you would not need to include that in your rate.
You could drop that.
Yes,
To make-
you have the $8,500 you'd be relying on at that point. But you wouldn't have, if that contingency fee is large, you'd be able to reduce that, but you're adding on a bunch of other, basically loan payments is what you're really adding to the mix of 150 grand.
How much is a contingency per month right now?
1283.
1283, so that's 123,
That just goes into the general water
$50 a year
fund for whatever,
per household, right?
Yeah.
So the contingency would add up to about $150 a year per,
roughly. Yep.
but holy cow, what we're going up on the rate is gonna be,
But another thing is too to think about is there's a lot of cities that if you're connected, whether you actually have water in your home or not, or whether your water is shut off, you're still paying that fee. And we do not, correct, we do not charge that. We don't have a lot of homes like that, but that is something to consider as well.
yeah.
Oh my. So we would have to be up to that 8167 at,
To get grant eligibility. So could you do a smaller project and just take the low interest loan? Yes, you have the ability to do that. But generally, if you're getting close to that 8167, you're gonna want to maximize your grant and then do as big a project as you can to max out that grant. Because
but yeah, because the funding, well, what we were awarded through the state, I'm hoping, you're saying that's what the state will come back in and say, we're gonna grant, or I don't know, it's not award, is probably a better term.
yeah, and they wait till you they wait till to do their final commitment until you have the bids in hand for your project, which stinks. You wish it would happen right now so you'd know what you're getting into, but that award is made essentially when you're bidding your project. And at that point, they're evaluated based on these factors to see what the grant loan combination is.
If I did my figuring right, it's about $68. I think I just took a 68 times 12, that's $816 a year more just for the water. So that's what it'd be, John, for the minimum, it'd be $816 more per year per meter. As a minimum usage. Yeah. So if you added all the stuff up in just the water right now, the water and the contingency. What'd you say the water was?
408 up to 1,246 gallons.
Yeah. But we get it in order, we have 3 years to get it up to there, right?
Yes,
Just gotta have a plan.
yes.
Okay.
And
You gotta understand where you're going, and how you wanna get there. So, typically I see the rate increases, being some communities start in advance, but by and large, most are. When we're awarding a construction contract, we're adopting rate increases because people are gonna see the work happening in the community. And, we're increasing rates so they can tie the two together.
Does it sell the project better doing it that way?
It always, nobody wants to pay 3 times their water bill, and so people are gonna be unhappy about that, but, if you're also telling them that we maximized our grant to do these other things, part of the treatment plant project, and we got $4,420,000 in free money, I would just say it could be worse. If that wasn't available, and we didn't maximize that.
yes,
But I understand the politics of making that kind of an increase. It's not pleasant, so.
So you're talking raising it like 3 times. I just pulled my bill because I haven't brought it home yet. And I'm around average, but my bill just for the water is $24 a month.
you pay another 12 for that contingency.
No, that's including that. That's the contingency and my gallons.
Yeah,
And you're,
So,
And we just need to get that 24 up to the 81.
yes.
Well, we don't, that contingencies fee we could leave in there then?
Well, you're going to $81. You're probably reducing what you're set aside in cash because you're only going to be setting aside $8,500 a year at that point. Your contingency fee is probably accumulating more than that. And so, but the thought is if we have a new new treatment facility and we've replaced some stuff that's been breaking, hopefully our maintenance costs aren't going to be, as far as having repairs and such, aren't going to be as bad. We can get by on a lesser contingency amount.
Well, people need to understand that that backup well over here is probably, man, I mean, originally it was sunk in the ground probably almost 100 years ago, 80 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't only pump about 60 gallons a minute, I believe, is something like that. So, if the main well went down really bad, it has a hard time to keep up. People need to understand that we are making things better and it costs money to make things better. The other well's been there for many years already too. And the treatment plant, that needs a lot of work inside, so
$6.8 million worth is what the engineer estimated it
how
at.
much?
6.8 million. That's the bulk of the cost
Yeah.
of all of this stuff, is that treatment project is the expensive one.
Right.
And-
Because everything, the infrastructure in that building is right across the street. It's at end of life, it's,
And people gotta understand there's new regulations like the chlorine and the other stuff. That has to be isolated. This one's sitting out there in the same building and that's why all the electrical gets corroded up. And everything, so, we're updating a facility that's probably been there since. Oh, man, who knows?
I think it's 100 years old, wasn't it? Or close to 100,
Yeah,
the building.
you think so?
Yeah.
I thought that's what they said, yeah.
I think it was.
That's what Brian said.
Public stuff.
And really, the brick itself is in beautiful shape. But it's the equipment inside that's,
That's looking good shape.
it does. There's nothing, really that bad on the exterior.
Exterior,
It's all interior.
but it's on borrowed time for the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. And we're just hoping we can get by another 12 months.
Just working on one in Howard Lake that's $21 million and their rates are going to 90 some dollars and they're not happy about that either. So it's
How big a town is that?
Howard Lake.
they're a little over 2,500.
Yeah, so you got more people to spread it out on too. That helps.
But the loan they're taking is I think it's closer to 17 million.
Wow.
Wow.
30 year there too.
It should be, right now they've shot them 20 because they didn't think they were above their affordability level, but they are, and they should get a 30%. That'll reduce it a little bit.
So for us, then that's the main thing, is just getting up to that 81.67 a month.
Just understanding that that's what you have to get to, before you dive even deeper and award a construction contract. It's important to know how the state's gonna view this and, over time, the two things that work against you are most likely median household incomes will continue to rise, which means their affordability level would go up, and construction inflation is horrible. These water treatment plants have through COVID doubled, almost in cost. And so I don't expect we'll see a doubling again because then nobody will be able to afford to do anything at all, but they went up significantly. And so generally we think the projects are going to get only more expensive. So that's the thought on it. So.
But if we sealed the deal, we got 3 years to get up to that eligibility.
Yeah, they'll give you that amount of time.
Okay, so we could take that $68 or whatever, 70, and divide that out per quarters, we'd have 12 quarters in that 3 years, or we could start the last quarter of this year, and it won't be such a shocker, if you only went up, well, if you have 12 quarters and you went up $10 a quarter, be 120, right? So you could make it phase in and not hurt quite as much.
So is your just to be clear though, is your $20 a month or is that a quarter?
That's a month.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we do monthly billing. He's talking quarters, but yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm talking
He's-
to the old way. Yeah.
Still monthly.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
Just our transitioned over to that. How long's that been?
Almost 2 years.
Is it really?
We'd have to give that some thought, see if we'd want to start it in September, maybe. Of course, I don't know if we can even do that
That's too soon.
too soon, yeah.
I try to have a community mailing or meeting as the project starts to develop, if you're proceeding, you know, make everybody aware that, you know, we're gonna be building or bidding a water treatment plant project along with other stuff in the, you know, early spring or early summer. And once we do that, we're gonna be committed. Most likely, you know, the state's gonna essentially tell us this is where we need to be in order to fund the project, so.
And this, basing it on the medium household income, that must just be a formula that the state came up with on how.
Yes, they've been using it for a long time. What they did a few years ago though is they were using 2010 median household income for 10 years, which was really nice because it was much lower. And the demand for the funding shot up significantly with construction costs doing what they're doing. And ultimately, they had to make that more current in order to temper some of the demand for their funding and when they were, particularly the grant funding, because that triggers the grant availability.
Right.
So now they're using relatively current, they're using 2024 right now, median household income data. And so.
Yeah, our old engineer, they had suggested that we, because I remember this conversation before. And we actually, they helped us do a survey that was sent out to the residents, and
Sure.
it was basically, yeah, that 80-some thousand, what I remember too, that it worked out to be, so.
Okay. They're probably trying to determine if you're below.
Right.
Right.
You know, met some additional requirements to trigger some additional.
Right.
So, yeah. Like small cities and stuff like that.
Yeah, like 3 summers ago. So then, as far as the money, there was talking about grant when we were going through this with our engineer. Well,
Yep.
we're gonna put out a little over $1 million in engineering costs to them to get this, so we can get it out to bid.
Yes.
Are you on the side that does any grant dollars to refund us for that, or is that?
So what I have here tonight is a loan.
Okay.
To help get you through, and the loan is eligible to be repaid from this PFA funding. Sue had to submit an email to the Public Facilities Authority indicating we're intending to do some temporary financing. And PFA had to respond that we're okay to proceed with it. Meaning they recognize that you have a project that's more imminent. You're designing it so it moves on to the other funding list because they know you're about to bid it. And so it triggers some final scoring, and engineers would probably argue that once you've designed it and certified it in the next phase, that the scoring typically improves, but your scoring was already in the funding range, traditional funding range for projects, so.
Oh my.
But that's the next stuff I had to talk about when we're done with this portion is the loan stuff, so. Let me know when you're ready for that part.
You're not gonna blow our mind on that one, are you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's not my intention. I want you to understand the state's view of the world as far as how they're gonna approach your funding, and I think you got really on that, so. So the next letter I would refer to is called a recommendations letter, and you'll see a number in the middle of the page says $576,000. And that's the loan amount that based on input from your engineer, they've said you need in funding in order to get to basically the bid process. in order to bid the project. And so they're saying that you need $500,000. We have issuance costs that are $16,250. That includes legal work, my work, a small program fee to the Minnesota Rural Water, and then capitalized interest of $59,040. So you're borrowing interest payments so that you don't have to make those out of pocket for a period of 2.5 years. And so ultimately, you're going to still accumulate cash in your water fund based on how you've always been, because you're not going to have additional out-of-pocket expense due to this loan. It's a temporary loan. There's no principal due for 3 years. There's interest-only payments due for that 3-year period, and we're borrowing the money to make 2.5 years of those payments because we expect by well before, but it gives us some additional time in case we have to go through a second funding cycle with the state to have our bids in hand, or at least have the project designed and be ready to bid. The interest rate on the loan, so it's a 3-year term, which is the maximum that's allowed for a temporary under state statute. The interest rate provided by the program lender is 4.1%. That's fixed for the duration. The first opportunity to pay it is March 1st of next year, which is about the time that you'll be gearing up to bid a project. And so as soon as your PFA funding comes through, you'll use that to pay this off. And the interest will be eligible as well as the principal, because it's gone for project related costs. And so ultimately, it's those terms that are then memorialized in this giant resolution that you received, which is an award resolution for a bond for a city. We call it a note in this instance. It's being placed with a program lender. Again, the amount is $576,000. The term is 3 years, which is the maximum we can do for a temporary. And ultimately, interest rate is that rate I quoted you of 4.1%. First opportunity to prepay again is March 1st of next year, which should align with your funding. And then any time after that, it can be prepaid without penalty. And it's the expectation that we'd be closing on a PFA loan in 2027, I think is the goal in order to implement the project. So, what questions can I answer on that stuff? There's a debt service schedule attached that shows you the principal and interest. Principal is just due in the final year, September 1st of 2029. So worst case scenario, the state of Minnesota has issues where they can't fund grants, for example, through their Public Facilities Authority. Not aware that that's ever happened, but let's say it did. You would have 3 years for them to get things figured out to participate in your project. Or at that time, you could choose to either pay off or refinance that temporary note an additional time to try to work through their process. I've never had anybody that had to do that. I don't expect that you're going to be the first. So, but we want to make you aware of all the risks, all the terms that are applied, and make sure you understand them. So. Again, we do an awful lot of these for small communities for both USDA and PFA projects. USDA is just not the funder of choice of late because their grant funding is very limited. And so the state of Minnesota, through its Public Facilities Authority, is getting more traffic these days. And so I would tell you that you're going after the right funding source now.
How does the First Independent Bank of Russell get involved? Or
Yeah, they're a relatively large bank. Actually, they have both the First Independent banks and Northview banks north of the cities. And they have been a pretty aggressive purchaser of small bond issues for 15 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They understand what they're purchasing, which means they're pretty competitive on interest rate. Not pretty, their First Independent Bank was probably our best lender for quite a while. Then they quit purchasing bonds for about 2 years, but now they're back at it again. We use both them, Security Bank and Franzen Bank, for the program, and we always go to the lender that is providing the best interest rate at when we're asking. And so,
Okay.
and we actually price it, part of the program is we price it comparable to something that would have an A credit rating. So it's generally a little bit better than what you'd be able to get by selling an unrated bond issue. And so we do a lot of them because the pricing's competitive and we have lenders that understand the nature of what they're doing. There hasn't been a default on a general obligation bond that we're aware of. And so it's pretty secure, cities pay their bills and ultimately they're priced accordingly because of that.
They're probably more familiar with small cities,
Yes.
small towns versus
Yes.
out of the cities or even Mankato,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. The bank owner actually is involved in the pricing and purchase. We communicate with him directly and he knows what he's buying. So, and he knows where we should be at with the rate we pitch him and where he wants to be. And so ultimately the conversations are usually pretty short. We tell him that this is what today's market conditions are. This is what we think the rate should be. And we do, in this instance, we're rewarded for your financials. We suggested a rate that's typically lower than a community your size because you have good financials. And the banker agreed and gave us, I just did one of these the other day at 4.7% who didn't have as good financials. And so you got credit for that. So, pat yourselves on the back for having a good audit and keeping some cash in reserve and taking care of things. So.
Cool.
The resolution that goes along with that also authorizes execution of a loan agreement, which says the exact same stuff I just told you. 576,000, 4.1% can be prepaid on or after March of next year. And then it authorizes execution of that compliance policy, which is a 9-page document that Sue read through today and asked me a question. And it was on the last page that she was asking me the question. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she read the whole thing. So when we issue tax exempt bonds, there's specific IRS regulations that we have to meet. Most of them don't apply to anything that we're doing today because this is a temporary financing for, preliminary costs that are going to ultimately be paid off in the near future by the state of Minnesota with long-term loans. But with this and other financings that you do, including your state loans, you have to file an IRS form that's called a 8038G. Because bonds are tax exempt and the federal government pays attention to that tax exempt status to make sure everybody is complying with the law, because you're getting a benefit of them not charging tax on the interest earned on this, so your interest rate's lower. On that form 8038G, there's a box that says, do you have a compliance policy? And all the attorneys now are sending out these compliance policies so that they can check that box because they feel it's you're less likely to be audited by the federal government because you have a compliance policy. The compliance policy basically does a fair amount of it is just regurgitating federal law that we have to meet regardless. And again, the primary reason is so that they can check the box so that they think it's going to help you avoid audit. I've only had one issue audited in 26 years. Maybe 2. And wasn't for any particular reason. One was a state loan that you can't do anything wrong with because the state disperses it. It was a PFA loan. And they don't want you to earn extra profits on this bond proceeds. So they don't want you to borrow this 576,000, put it in the bank at a higher interest rate, earn money on it and just sit on it. That's not legal beyond a certain period of time. And so it's those types of situations that they're really trying to determine if laws were broken or if you owe the government money. Because if you earn excessive interest on the reinvestment of these proceeds, they want some of that money. You're not going to be in that situation. Just so you understand with this temporary note. We can earn unlimited interest during a construction period and we don't have to pay, it's called a rebate to the federal government. And so getting deep into the weeds on the policy that will never apply to much of anything that you do. So and I appreciate you reading it, Sue.
So will this be considered just a regular municipal bond then, or is it under kind of a?
It technically is. It technically is, and that's the only way cities can really borrow money. You can contract for deed in some instances, but it's technically call it a note in this instance. It's because it's one bond. It's not being sold to multiple investors. And so, and it's being bought and held by one lender with no intention to resell it. So you'll be dealing with First Independent Bank until you pay it off. So nobody else. The other thing we avoided on this, because of your finances again, is for a lot of these, we have to seek the State Credit Enhancement Program, which is a program through the Public Facilities Authority that requires us to use a paying agent that would cost $450 a year, and would indicate that the state would step in the case that we didn't make the payment. On very small communities, our lender requires that credit enhancement a lot of times, and again, it wasn't required on this one. So we're saving that $450 a year on paying agent fees with a $750 setup charge. So again, that's because of your financial condition. So
there's small towns like us, you go to present this to them on a night like this, do they ever want time to have an attorney look at stuff like this? Or this is your job,
yeah,
you know what you're doing, we don't all know, I
I
mean,
understand.
how do we treat this?
So everything that's presented tonight is based on an award being made tonight. And so if you were to approve this tonight, we probably have to redo some of this stuff, which isn't the end of the world, but we would. The attorney that's drafted this, I know they're out at Duluth and they're not close by, but they're paid to act in your interest in drafting these documents. I'm here to act in your interest and tell you whether or not it's a good deal. And I would say this is as fair as it gets. And so I think it's more along the lines of, Mayor, if you think you're going to proceed with the project, it's probably most efficient to act tonight. But if you're not sure if you're going to proceed with all this stuff and you need more time to talk about it, I respect that completely. So it's up to you guys.
Pretty well spelled out, isn't it? Pretty well, I mean, you know, I think you've covered everything very well for us, you know.
I try to cover any question you have as best I can, so. And I'm not here to push you into a project either, so
No.
that's not my deal.
Well, projects, some of them need to be done, so.
Yeah, that's pushing on its own, so.
Understood.
Yeah, we
It's
just
usually the case.
look out the window and see that it reminds you that it needs to be.
So do we have to have two motions tonight, one for the loan agreement or the resolution or just the resolution?
Solution handles everything else.
Okay, all right. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve resolution 2026-07?
I will make that motion.
Someone to second,
I will second the motion.
all in favor?
I
Motion carried. All right. Probably want some of these signed tonight too, then, probably.
Actually, you're gonna get signature packet from Freiberger.
Yep.
And so I don't need to take any.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
and. Talk about that. We have
It's September 1st.
yeah, that's what I think. I don't want to state it, but I like to verify. But when it's September 1st, and so closing is when funds are transferred to the city, either by check or by wire. And the only thing that happens between now and then is signature pages. If you change your mind and you didn't want to close, you can call and say, we're not going to close. And we don't close, so just so you understand that. Let's make people aware if you right up to the closing date, you can choose not to do something, so so that's on your side, and if you have questions in the meantime, I'm available, so.
So with our finances being in pretty good order, I think you said the other guy was paying 4.7 and we're paying 4.1, but we got over $0.5 off.
It
That helps.
Yeah,
All helps.
does,
Yep.
means more is going in the ground versus going out to banks and.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Well. Everything get explained good enough to everybody?
Yeah, I don't think I could explain it to everybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
it's a,
Just that the water rates are gonna have to go up because
yeah,
we're dealing with an aging system and an aging treatment plant and a very old well and a not so new other well, so.
and there's steps to everything to improve or to,
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that should do it then. Thank you very much.
yes.
Like these extra copies I brought along.
Yeah, if you want, I'll put them,
Sure.
just in case the other council wants it,
Yep.
or I'll put it in a file. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wrap your brain around all these numbers.
I know. I hope I make it clear enough in writing.
Yeah.
It's easy to. Jog your memory when you need to, but if it's not, just call. I'm happy to help. So,
Yeah, as it sinks in, I may have more questions too, so.
yeah. I think my email's on there as well, so
Mhm.
happy to answer questions.
Sounds good.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Community comment, anything? We supposed to just look at this or?
Which one's that?
That, I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, so we can discuss that as a part of your packet. So,
You see it? It's laying right here.
oh, because I put packets together today and I evidently did not pick that up. It's all, everything is in your packet. I
Oh,
was putting packets together for Monday, so I must have left that laying there.
okay, all
So,
right,
sorry about that.
all right.
That's my fault.
This resolution 2826-06, it's dated Monday, so I'm assuming that's for Monday's meeting.
Yeah, I put it in here, but I'm thinking we need to, I'm not even sure if we actually have to. Okay, so the one I have, because I corrected the date, because this came with a packet. I created this one because I wasn't sure if we needed to have a resolution for that policy. Normally, when we approve a policy, we do a resolution with it as well.
Oh, okay,
So the one I have is dated for today.
okay, this one is,
That one's dated because I had put it in there
okay.
and then I changed the date on it. But if we could get that today, then we can just tie in with everything else.
So you have the same one, only,
Resolution 2026-06 for today, May 5th, or August 5th, sorry.
so this is just for the
The pre and post compliance, that policy, yep.
compliance with what we just went over.
Correct. That's
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-06.
Someone
And
second
Yeah,
This
it's just that short one-page one.
that one. Yeah, all right.
But it is passed.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
That's.
Someone to second that,
I can second that.
all in favor? Motion carried. All right, nothing else, no community comment, make a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
someone second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thanks, everybody.